there are people who say that, you know, religion has helped them quit and this and that, but it's never just why is it a good thing? Because I know, personally, I know someone who was a meth head for about 20 years, and I don't know him personally anymore, but he used that church to justify abusing his family for 20 years. So getting to know him, getting to know he's really not a nice guy, and then getting to see that is one of the things that kind of informed me on the whole, oh yeah, this can be really fucked up, you know? So for anybody who, you know, calls in or says, you know, hey, there's good stuff too, people have gotten help. Yeah, and there are a lot of really, really terrible things too. I mean, if you really want to make that calculus, you know, what you're doing is you're propping up a system that enables abuse.
The way that I think about it is, yeah, I mean, religion's really good at getting people together, make some people more generous, you know, can help people feel like they have a community, feel like they're supported. And so can literally any other community that is done well out of the love of the hearts of good people.
Exactly.
Like the Atheist Community of Austin. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, we just got off a call where someone was saying that it helps give their life purpose and meaning, and they feel the love coming out of this community. Isn't all that supposed to be things that people are saying in their personal testimonies?
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of did it without religion, and we don't have to worship anything.
But we are completely talking over. Josh, what did you want to talk to us about today?
Well, my biggest thing is actually, Eric, I discovered this talk thing a couple weeks ago when I called you guys over there on the, you know, Atheist Experience.
Hey, rock on.
Yeah, I actually kind of went through the whole YouTube channel. I was like, hey, cool. I actually kind of like this new show. I think I'm gonna start tuning in now every week.
Nice.
All right. But
very cool.
My biggest thing is when I talk to people about, you know, I'm an atheist and this, and they're like, no, you're agnostic, and no, it's. When I try to explain it to them, it's getting them to make that connection of, yeah, you know, knowledge is a subset of belief. And it's getting them to get belief as this wholeness of, here's belief of this. So I don't know how to explain it, but the whole thing of just belief, and then there's knowledge under here. It's getting them to make the connection between the two. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know.
No, you're doing good. Actually, really quick, I do want to shout a thank you to Megan Moore for donating in the super chat.
And Jim, good show so far.
Jim, hey Jim. Drew, do you want to take this one?
Well, just could you repeat the last bit for me? I just want to make sure that I understand here.
It's getting them to make the connection that knowledge is a subset of belief, and getting them to recognize belief as this whole. Yeah, it's an independent thing. I don't know how to explain it other than it's just belief is this independent thing here, and knowledge is this thing here, and you don't. I don't know.
No, I think I understand where you're coming from.
Connection.
And this is, as much as, you know, people might say, this is not something that's like settled among the atheist community. Yeah. This is like the hottest debate that I see. It's like social justice issues, and then whether or not you're an atheist or an agnostic, right? I mean, I've seen that a lot. People get really divided about it. I don't really understand why people get mad over a word.
I don't understand either.
But
just word is some pronoun. Well,
oh, that was another bad one. Yeah.
There's no reason to get confused on it. I don't really think some people. So, I don't understand people when they call themselves an agnostic atheist. That to me is kind of a little redundant, but you know.
So the way that I see it basically is that words obviously don't have set definitions. Right. They have utility. You use definitions. It's not that you're using a word that has a definition. You're using a certain definition. And so people get frustrated with it because I think that we like to pretend that we have set definitions. So I would call myself an agnostic atheist. Maybe you and I define those terms a bit differently, and that's probably what it is. So what I would say is, I think the most important thing in that entire debate is at the very beginning, say, hey, this is the definition that I kind of by default use, and I want to understand the one that you by default use. And you can say, this one has more utility, I think, and this one doesn't have as much utility. You can have that argument. But I would just advise against arguing, oh no, the word agnostic means this, and atheist means this.
Yeah.
It's, I use the word atheist, and this is what I mean. Ultimately, if you can have a conversation without ever having to use a label at all, I love that. I think that's great.
You know, I think that's the problem with a lot. Is everybody wants to put a label on things, and I see no reason to label anything at all.
I do.
To me, I think it's kind of. Well,
I actually disagree with you guys.
Why? I don't see a reason. I think labels get talked
because
about so much that it gets confusing and kind of watered down in the middle.
So, I absolutely agree with you, Drew, that words have the meaning that we put behind them. And if you look up, you know, or if you check out what all of the major dictionaries do, is they look at the continuing, you know, changing evolution of words and try their best to describe them and give them definitions that are meaningful.
Right.
Right? And so when we're talking about atheism and agnosticism, currently there is a widely held view on what those things mean. And it's important to me to be able to make those distinctions so that we can have deeper conversations.
Yeah.
And my example that I always go back to is sex and gender, right? Colloquially, people use those words interchangeably when they're not talking about specific differences between sex and gender, right? Those are synonymous until you have the discussions that where that is really meaningful. Because when you make that distinction, you can have a nuanced, very amazing conversation that has a lot to do with, you know, biology and about social and societal expectations and about all of these different pieces that if you didn't have that language, you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So I think that if the word atheist or the word agnostic or both came to a point where they didn't have a meaning or were not conducive to a nuanced discussion, I would agree. But up until that point, I really like using those terms so that we can continue to have deeper discussions and not just the, you know, the Kalam cosmological argument, not the presup or the different, you know, things put out by Thomas Aquinas or Aristotle. It's not just the, you know, the Jordan Petersons saying, you know, well, you don't really, you know, it's not just that, but it's us being able to explore ourselves a little bit more. So I actually wholeheartedly disagree.
No, I think that we actually disagree. I think we just have a little bit of a misunderstanding. So I'm not saying that using the terms negates the conversation. I think that being able to use labels, that's great, and I think of it kind of as a conversational shortcut because it enables us to get to the deep stuff faster. Okay. Right? It's great. I you know, that's why I say, yeah, I am an agnostic atheist.
You know, if you understand somebody's label, you can already guess where the conversation could go. And
so where do we break here?
I'm not sure if we do. I guess just my main thing is I think we're emphasizing different things. So you're saying, yeah, labels are really useful so we can get to the deep stuff. Am I understanding that kind of correctly? Absolutely. So I would say, yes, I love that. The only thing is a lot of people get hung up on saying, no, this is the real definition of this. And I say, if that's the problem, then maybe that's the wrong argument. I don't know if it's something to get super hung up about. If you can't debate the real issue you want to debate because you don't define a completely, you know, a separate term, then and you get mad at each other because of that tension is distracting you.
The term before you talk would be good.
Exactly. Yeah. No. That's exactly right. So I think that we agree. It's just I was emphasizing that we should define the terms first, talk about what we mean by our certain words, and then go ham, use them. I knew that we didn't have this break. I mean, I could feel in my heart that I was supposed to be here today.
Oh, Providence, right?
You know what? You kind of gave me clarity on it. I'd never kind of talked with that approach before, so I think from now on I'll go with that approach when I talk to people. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that.
And now I kind of want to like.
I'm going to hell. So.
Well, I kind of want to, you know, add to that now that I understand the difference. Yeah. And that is that I was having a heated discussion with somebody, and I really was using bad reasoning. And the reasoning was, you know, oh, this is what that word really means. I was that guy once.
Yeah. Oh, I've done it. Really, I've done it.
And I look back and I kind of cringe.
I think we've all done it at one point.
Oh, yeah. But we all do it.
But here's what someone told me, someone that I care about. They said, Eric, that's the no true Scotsman argument. You're not being, that's no true Scotsman.
Yeah.
And I kind of sat. And I just stopped, and I was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, okay, I need to come back to this because I really need to sort my shit out because I am not using very good reasoning behind my argument. And I need to determine whether or not the argument that I'm making is valid or I'm just leaning on, you know, shit tools to decipher the world that I'm in. So
if I can recommend a resource to you, you know, I know other YouTubers who do good stuff. There's a relatively newer channel, but she's just amazing. Like one of my really good friends up in Canada. The channel name is Shannon Q.
Shannon Q.
Yeah, Shannon Q is just phenomenal, and she has. Oh, really? You've seen it? You've seen her?
I think last week I saw something. It sounds familiar. Maybe, but
She's our girlfriend who lives in Canada.
Yeah. But she's great, and she has several videos where she talks about basically having the conversation on a higher level of discourse. Because if your discourse is shit, you're not going to get anywhere. So I recommend that channel to you, Shannon Q, to everybody in here. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people in the chat are like, oh yeah, Shannon's great. But yeah, check that out, and hopefully they can provide even more clarity than any that I was able to help out with.
Definitely. Josh, this has been a really amazing conversation.
Well, I appreciate, you know, the insight of everything. I think it kind of helps, you know.
Awesome.
Appreciate everything. I've never had that, so I think from now on
I'm glad we could help at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, well, you guys did. I appreciate it.
Well, here's to you, brother. You take care of yourself, all right? And
yeah, you guys
we'll
have a great day, hopefully. Yeah.
Will do.
Have a good one, guys. Keep up the good work.
Later.
Right? Can you just feel why this fills me up every single week, week after week?
That, like, I would say that came out wrong, but yeah, no, I totally understand your feeling.
By the way, Shining Q is awesome, but
Yes.
don't check her out until you check out Genetically Modified Skeptic. Check him out, sub, and then move over to Shining Q and to Cosmic Skeptic and everybody else who's in here, because we have an amazing, growing, flourishing community, and we're all in it together.
Atheist YouTube is super, like, community oriented now. It's really turned, and it's going a different, very constructive and loving direction. Which that's not what you thought about in 2009. Are atheist YouTubers like constructive and loving?
No.
I mean, they might be right about some stuff, but
Yeah.
But now, no, it's really not like that at all.
They got people like us.
Yeah.